All right, so here we go. Let's start our next session on prevention of forest fires in the tropics, lessons from Indonesia and Peru. So, ladies and gentlemen, this event is initiated by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and then also with partners with the international tropical timber organization, and then also some other representative from other countries. So let's begin our session by introducing our speakers. But before that, I would like to say hi for the participants who are joining us online. I'm not sure how many, but this is being streamed, live streamed online, right? Correct? Yes. I think we have all the speakers here with us now. So let's begin with Bapak Syaiful Anwar from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Welcome, Bapak. And Pak Syaiful later will deliver the opening remarks. Yeah, in representative from Ibu Laksmi Dewanti, and then also we have Professor Bambang Hero Saharjo, from the Faculty of Forestry, Bogor Agricultural University, or IPB, from Bogor, Indonesia. And we have Dr. Yasumasa Hirata. Good afternoon, Principal Research Director, Redless R&D Center, FFPRI, Japan. Welcome, sir. And we also have Ms. Elvira Gomez Rivero, the Director General from the General Directorate of Information and Forest and Wildlife Management, Peru's National Forest and Wildlife Service, Servicio Nacional Forestal y de Fauna Silvestre. I hope my Spanish is not really good, I was correct, from Peru. So I guess we're still waiting for her to arrive, but I guess we have the representative of the delegation here as well. And then we also have Mr. Sihol Parulian Aritonang. Oh, okay, all right. So he's supposed to be here, but he's already on the way back to Indonesia. So, ladies and gentlemen, we also would like to introduce our moderator, Ms. Syam Satguru, the Director of Operations from International Tropical Timber Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome all of the speakers and all moderators to come forward to the stage, and please give a big warm applause for all of them. Please kindly take a seat in the front so that we can have more participants coming in. So over to you, Ms. Syam.
A very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and all of you who have made time to attend our event today. And first of all, I'm so sorry, I've just seen a number of very lovely Indonesian colleagues whom I've known for many, many years, and it's been wonderful seeing all of them. Can I express my gratitude to the government of Indonesia for being willing to host this very important event, which is a partnership between the International Tropical Timber Organization and the governments of Indonesia and also Peru, where we have representatives from both countries who are willing to share their experiences and the lessons learned in the projects that they are executing on the ground. For those of you who are not familiar with who the International Tropical Timber Organization is, we are a 74-member intergovernmental organization. We are hosted by the government of Japan with generous support from the city of Yokohama. Out of the 74 countries, we are a 50-50 divide between producers and consumers. And out of the producing member countries of the ITTO, they account for 80% of tropical forests globally. Now, as we are aware, tropical forests constitute 45% of forest areas globally. So that shows you how important tropical forestry can be and must be. And ITTO's mandate, of course, is governed by the International Tropical Timber Agreement of 2006, where we have a double-pronged mandate of implementing sustainable forest management in the tropics. And the second half of our mandate is to diversify the trade in legally harvested and sustainably sourced forest products. So that's the background introduction. Now, the event of today, of course, is on forest fire management. Now, we have heard several interesting and very pertinent discussions taking place this week at the COP26 on how essential it is that action be taken in facing the challenges towards climate mitigation and adaptation. Forest fires, wild forest fires, is one of the most critical elements that we have to grapple with in the face of climate changes, in the face of extreme climate changes in the whole world, to be honest. For example, 2 decades ago, no one would have thought that areas, cold areas of the world in the north, particularly northern Scandinavia or parts of Russia, would experience forest fires. But this has been prevalent in the last decade or so. Also in other countries like Australia. And so we can all well imagine what the situation is in the tropics. The tropics also have to grapple with the issues of forest fires and how to either prevent or help communities and countries in fighting the dangers posed by forest fires. Now, this event will promote cooperation and synergies amongst the multi-stakeholders that are involved in the processes and support the effective implementation, particularly on the Indonesian side by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry and ITTO, in South Sumatra and Central and Southern Kalimantan in Indonesia, as well as the Peruvian Forest Agency, SERFO, and the ITTO forest fire areas, which is being implemented in 3 different regions in Peru. One of the outputs of both projects is to increase networking and promote research and capacity building to prevent and combat forest fires in the tropics. So that's the introduction to today's event. Now, may I have the honor of inviting Dr. Shaiful Anwar, who is the Director of GHG Investigations from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, to present on behalf of Ms. Lakshmi Dewanti, who is the Director General of Climate Change, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Indonesia. Dr. Shaiful, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, good afternoon, good evening, I think. It's already dark outside, I hope. It's my great pleasure to be here in front of you in this session, and it is highly appreciation for ITTO and for, of course, participants this evening. And yeah, I'm on behalf of Director General for Climate Change of Ministry of Environment of Indonesia. Would like to just present the forest and then fire policy development in Indonesia. Next, please. Yes, this is just the outline. We would like to present what policy have been taken in Indonesia, and the program also have been carried out. And the last slide is about closing, something like a conclusion. And next, please. Yes, talking about policy, there is a presidential directive about controlling forest fire. The priority is actually the main priority. Well, it's a bit difficult to see from this slide. Yes, just sorry. Go back, please. Yeah. The important thing is how to find out the solution to get the to get the permanent solution to tackle forest fire, to control forest fire. This is the important policy of the president direction. Next, please. Talking about fire management, there are three steps: prevention, suppression, and post-fire. For the prevention, yes, the regulation is, and coordination need to be strengthened, and we need early warning and early detection of the fire. We need to have an integrated fire prevention patrol. We need also campaign and capacity building, and how to get a solution where the land clearing without burning practices. And also now we have to strengthen our fire care community. So in Indonesia is Masyarakat Peduli Api. This is including fire care community paralegal. And also the important one is weather modification. So mainly is for pit rewetting. And for the suppression, this is like fire fighting, yeah, for ground suppression, and also there is a joint suppression among agencies or within the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and also air operations such as water bombing and surveillance. And for post-fire, the law enforcement is really very important, and just to make sure that it will not happen again if it is in full corporation, big corporation. And then we have to do a inventory of the burn area. Next, please. And this is the new paradigm and cycle of forest fire prevention. Well, we have in the previous paradigm that we are focused on crisis phase. Only during the crisis phase, this is the focus in the past. And the budget also focused on suppression, and we inventory of the burn area is based on field support. And then we have new paradigm now that the prevention is the first one, it's the important one, prevention. And we are now in full community, many community in the surrounding the forest who fire prone yes, it will be involved, and improving early warning and detection system. And also we develop the instrument for burn area and paralegal fire care community. The figure on the right side is about the cycle in Indonesia. We now, I don't know, because of the climate change, maybe the cycle also changed, but the first in January to April is a pre-crisis phase. So fire in particular in Rio and West Kalimantan. So in January and April, this is a pre-crisis. And then in April and June is a warning phase where, yeah, we have to be very, be careful with this. Sometimes small thing become very big when people using fire to for land clearing. And then June to October is really, this is the crisis phase, especially in Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Jawa, Bali, West and East Nusa Tenggara. And then October and November is a recovery phase. If fire happen, and then we have to do a recovery. And then in December is we do evaluation. Next, please. With regard to permanent solution for fire management, we have 3 steps: A, O, L. A is analysis, so climate analysis, and O is operational management, and then L is landscape management. So for climate analysis, Then we have the permanent solution with weather modification. So this is weather modification is a permanent solution for us. Although now, because of reformation of in the office of BPPT, research agency, and now a little bit a lot of changing management on that. And then the operational management, there's tactical command post. We have a permanent solution on law enforcement and also fire care community. And for the landscape management, peatland management will be have a high priority, because according to K category analysis in greenhouse gas inventory, peat fire is on the top one, the number one who contribute very significant emission to the Indonesia. And the next, please, is just a list of regulations. I will not read one by one, but at least to let you know that we have a lot of regulations concerning forest and land fire. There's land fire and haze. There's about land use and peatland management. There is also forestry and plantation compliance, and also we have regulation in the provincial or subnational level. Next. Yes, this is just to show the data in 2020 and 2021, that the decrease in the number of hotspots by 1,437. So this decrease about 52%. Next, please. And this is to show the burn area within 2019, 20, and 21. So in 2019 to 2020, it's decreased 82%, and from 2020 to 2021 is the burn area, if compared to 20, is decreased 22%. So in 2021, the burn area is for period January to September. Yeah, so in September and December will be followed, but I think it will not a lot of change. And also the program we have for, next please, for the permanent solution, we have early detection system. So in Ministry of Environment Forestry, we have Sipongi system, and also with LAPAN, National Aerospace Agency, and we have control the image of smoke regularly, and also from Himawari 8 hotspot. Also, this is data from November 6th. Yeah, we haven't had the new one. Sorry, this figure is not really eligible. Next, please. For early detection system, also we have a thermal camera. Thermal camera we use to see the visual image. We have in Pekanbaru, in Riau, and also we have infrared image, and also we use the drone. The drone is to identify the burn area, to estimate the vast area. This is also in Riau. The next, please, is a weather modification technology. I've mentioned before that one of the effort of the forest and land fire prevention, we are using TMC, weather modification technology. So in cooperation with the Agency for Assessment and Application of Technology, or BPPT, to modify the weather, especially for the peatland area that are predicted to experience severe drought. And this weather modification carried out during the transitional season and will be more effective to keeping peatland in a wet and moisture condition. And this in turn will also reducing the risk of forest and land fire. The benefit of weather modification technology is, as I mentioned before, to moisturize the soil, especially in peatland, and to keep from drying out, and also overcome the problem of smoke due to the forest and land fire, and also can use to extinguish fire in the large area and large fires, and also can cope with drought in a certain area. Next, please. Yeah, we have also fire barricade. We call it Manggala Agni fire barricade. We have a lot of persons there. We have 34 main base. We have 37 secondary base. And the personnel of fire barricade is 1,875 personnel. And involves community. Community is about 11,119. It is now growing more and more for the community volunteers, because they know the benefit on that. Next, please. And also we have a program for target for prevention. So we have 1,200 fire-prone villages, and mostly 80% in Sumatra and Kalimantan. So this number is the number of fire-prone villages. And also prevention patrol. This is the number, the patrol in 2021, the number of villages. Yeah. Next, please. Sorry. Next again. Yes, this is fire community, fire care community in Indonesia. This is the number, yeah, a lot of number. As I mentioned, it's about 11 and 119 fire care community. So this is all voluntary based. So this is spread out all of Indonesia. And next, please. This is fire community paralegal. So, we enhance the community participation on the legal, to enhance their awareness on legal concerning forest fire. This is also voluntary based. So this is the number of fire care community paralegal. Yeah. And also, this important one is stakeholders collaboration on fire management. So yes, I think we are all agree that fire management needs participation and responsibility all stakeholders. And we have just starting now project with ITTO, capacity building on forest and land fire management in Indonesia, which have objective to improve prevention of forest and land fire through strengthening management and technical capacity of stakeholders. Next, please. I think this is, sorry. Yes, next. This the closing. So, in this case of forest fire prevention, the Minister of Environment and Forestry is prioritizing in preventing land and forest fire. So it's not suppressing anymore, but to preventing, and then analyzing climate condition regularly and using weather modification such as cloud seeding for intervention, and improving operational management by synergizing and collaborative action among stakeholders, and also prioritizing in restoring and managing peatland, and also involving all stakeholders, especially local community, as the front line in prevention operation. I think that is from me. Thank you very much, and apologize for any inconvenience. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sham.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaiful. Good grief. There was a lot of information sharing and knowledge sharing there in that presentation. May I congratulate Indonesia for the tremendous progress that you have achieved on forest fire management. It may be voluntary in terms of actions that are being taken, but it is very clear that the government of Indonesia realizes the importance of enforcing the sharing of knowledge and information on this very important. Thank you again, Dr. Shaiful. May I now invite Professor Bambang Herosaharjo from the Faculty of Forestry, Bogor, Agricultural University, to present on forest fires and greenhouse gas emissions reduction in Indonesia. So you have 20 minutes, Professor Bambang. Can I please plead that you keep with your time? Thank you so much. Just to be fair to the other speakers who are waiting to speak. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Please, take ahead.
Moderator. Slide, please. Okay, I will talk about please, the title. The title, return back to the title. So, the previous speaker talked about forest fires. Now, trying to show how Indonesian effort finally to fight the fires, not only fighting, but also with other activities. Then finally, we got the greenhouse gas emission reductions. I am Bambang from ITTO University. Next, tropical forests have a vital role in buffering the brunt of global environmental change. But unfortunately, tropical forests have faced a significant challenge from the occurrence of fires. We have Indonesia one cases, for instance, like 97 and 98, we have about 10 to 11 million hectares burned. And then extensive fire have become more frequent and pervasive in tropical forests worldwide. And finally, Indonesia has been identified as hotspot of fire activity, etc., especially when we're dealing with peat. Next, please. And then fire is a significant source of gases, particulate to the atmosphere, and then produce large amount of small solid particle or particulate matters. And then the problem of forest fire cannot be observed merely from a single viewpoint, but it must be seen expansively in various contexts. Next. Next slide. Now, okay, the video, please. Okay, this is an example. When this is the peat fires in one area in South Sumatra. You can see when you're dealing with fire, they produce smoke and greenhouse gas, and everybody try to fight it. This is the problem of in Indonesia and also the other country which has the peat. See, but this is one bad experience. But later on, you can see how Indonesian government try to fight it. Next slide, please. And this is the result. Yeah? You can see the problem, of course, in peat land, and when you cannot manage the peat itself, then this becomes a problem. I think, as mentioned by the previous speakers, that we are very strict on regulation, because we know that if you lose, then finally you will get the experience like this one. Yeah? Okay, next slide, please. This is the case. I just would like to let you know. In 2015, we have 2.69 million hectares. And in 2016, decreased about 305,000. 2017 decrease, yeah, and you can see from here that you compare between the total area burned and also the peat, the role of the peat fire is dominant there. Even in 2019, this is I joined the COP 25th in Madrid, Spain, where the Agor said that be careful in Indonesia because you have the increasing of greenhouse gas. And then finally we recognize this is come from peat fires. Okay, next slide, please. This is here because we finally recognize from the 7 areas that are proposed for restoration, we saw the increasing of the peat fires there. For instance, like in South Sumatra, Central Kalimantan, Papua, etc. So this is again become our challenge. Next slide, please. Then this is mentioned by the I forget one group from Europe that published this one. Yeah, then they show that the problem is at the 2019. Yeah, next slide, please. Next. Then finally they show that from here you can see in 2015, and then 2016, 17, 18, then in 2019 the increase. The increasing is because of peat fires there. Okay? This is produced by CAM. Then finally, okay, next. Then finally, in 20,000, we can see that the total emission greenhouse gases is dropped. For instance, like in 2019, mineral is about 1.1 million, but in 20 this is mineral and peat is more than 490,000, but in 2020 it's dropped. And finally, in 2021, this is as at July, it's very drastically changed. So this is, you can see that how Indonesian government tried very hard to fight and finally to reduce the greenhouse gases. Next slide, please. So this is, yeah, you can see in 2019 is 603 million something, and then in 2020 is about 40 million ton, but in 2021 decreased to be 24 million something. This is in data in July. So from here we can see that, you know, the area which covered with peat now already decreased significantly. Next slide, please. So, but this is you can compare because on October 2021 we got the data is like means also for speakers 229, but you can see from others, Russia, Canada, US, we are still lower than that. See, next slide, please. And then how we fight that one? Using the first is the early warning system, use a fine pool moisture code. Next slide, please. And also we monitor the through the, for instance, like a film from NASA, so we know about the performance of the smokes, transboundary from here, so we know exactly where are the fires. Okay, next slide, please. And also we monitor the PM 2.5, for instance, like because if you cannot manage, then this is spreading. Okay, this will also cause the, you can see there, we have also the baseline on it. Next slide, please. You see, when you're dealing with peat, it's very hard because they have sometimes the depth is more than 3 meters something. You can see also different equipment used, the helicopter, etc. Next slide, please. And also, this is the reason why Indonesian government now, since 2014, with the regulation that previously mentioned before, that we are trying to stop the reduction of the peat, and also from there hopefully will increase the capability of peat to do something, but we got the reduction of greenhouse gases. For instance, in 2016, the government established what they call the Badan Restorasi Gambut, peat restoration agency, in order to reduce the destruction of peat so that they can reduce the greenhouse gas emission. Next slide, please. You can see here, on the left is my friend is Mark O'Hren. from University of Maryland. We are working in the field to monitor, to calculate the emission. So then from there, we have experienced in 2016, we got the 90 gases out from this pit. You can see in below, they're still working. So this is the problem when you're dealing with pit. So it means that when you treat the pit, you should, special to do. Yeah. Next slide, please. You see here on the right, this is one of my colleagues from US Forest Service. This is Mark O'Haren, the monitoring every centimeter of pit when they burn. So from there we got, like we use now is ground northern leopard less than 40 centimeters. Next slide, please. Here, they now apply. This is actually applied in canal blocking, the foam paper. They are lucky because around the area is burned, but they are not. Okay? Because this means the regulation is working, not just blaming something, right? Next slide, please. This is also a report made by my college, now being published, that the effect of the pit restoration now work. Yeah. There is also several international journal published soon that to show that when working with wetland and working with wetland, it's working to prevent the fire attack the pit. Next slide, please. So also this mentioned before, yeah, we're trying to approach local people not using fire. What we modify the area not using fire, they're using the pit from here that the local people can do something. Next slide. Also here in other places, there's no fire, they can use it, finally can produce. Yeah. Next slide, please. And also usually they cut down the the shrubs and grasses and burn, but we treat them, we ask them to change it and produce the compost, something original, yeah, natural. Next slide, please. Yeah, even usually they burn that one, but we can use the chipping and that running the electrical power plant without fires. We use this biomass. It's working. Okay. Next slide, please. Also, the polar enforcement now use the satellite, so they don't hide. Yeah, they cannot laying, because we monitor and use, for instance, like Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2, so we can see it here. Okay, next slide, please. So this is one issue. Finally, we recognize that the equation made by IPCC is caused the overestimate. For instance, when you're dealing with the pit, you put the combustion factor. For this one is 1. It's, for pit it will never 1. So we criticize this one because they use combustion factor 1 to increase overestimate more than 30%. We would like to make it change, become the real emission. So we have discussed this one with our friend from US, because there should be change. Otherwise, then the emission will be overestimated. You see, combustion factor and also emission factor. Next slide, please. Yeah, this case, for instance, using IPCC, they use that one. For instance, the combustion factor for pit is 1. We did not agree, especially our scientists. No, because for pit is never burned totally 100%. No, because they are wetted. Okay. Next slide, please. This is our research in 2015 that finally we recognize the CO2 is overestimate 8%. Methane is 55% overestimate. Industry is 86%, and also CO 39% underestimate. So it means we would like to change the calculation to become the real ones. We use the data from our research. Next slide, please. And then the conclusion, yeah, reduce the fire, then follow with decreasing emission is not a simple activity, because people say, how come Indonesia reduce? They thought only just fight, but many things done. Yeah, it needs not just commitment, but also the real action. This is what we need, even also by COP26. It must be well managed and controlled and accompanied by law enforcement. See? Greenhouse gas emission reduction only could be reached if every sector and human individual working together with clear target and the way to run without any exception as a policy only. It's not enough. And then fire prevention should be realized as it should be applied. So the second one, I will show you the video. Next video, please. Video, please. Or the next, we will have to see you how we work with ITTO. Every month we have the every we are trying to investigate about protection of fires. 2 days ago, we had one company they punished unfortunately for
Thank you so much, Professor Bambang. Again, that was a very educational video, and also the research and the application of all the technologies that are involved shows exactly how seriously Indonesia takes this matter. We can see that devastation of forest areas from forest fires can be very serious indeed, and the impact can be very, very wide-reaching. I personally am not a scientist myself, but I'm very impressed with the figures that are reported on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and also the different classifications of the different kinds of gas emissions that are entering the atmosphere. It is sincerely hoped, of course, that all the participants at this webinar may also learn from the contents of your presentation and the science that is involved more than anything else. Thank you again. As now, may I invite our next speaker, Dr. Yasumasa Hirata-san, who is also an expert in this area, director with Red Plus, to please present your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good afternoon, everyone. Presentation, please. Right. Okay. So my name is Yasumasa Hirata. I'm the director of the Red Plus and Forest DLR Research and Development Center at the Forestry and Forest Product Research Institute in Japan. Today I would like to talk about forest fire and Red Plus. My talk is a little bit different aspect of forest fire. So next slide, please. We have already recognized that the impact of climate change have reached a point where there is no turning back. From this perspective, it is very significant that COP26 is holding after the postponement caused by COVID-19. Next slide, please. The effect of climate change are reaching a critical stage, where extreme events and occurring in many parts of the world, leading to natural disasters and cause many victims. Next slide, please. Today's topic, forest fire, is also feared to increase due to extreme dryness caused by climate change. As we have already seen in the news in the past few years, forest fire are a serious challenge for both developed and developing countries. Forest fires are not only a local problem for the people, animal, plants, and communities that lost their habitat and residence, but also a global problem in that the carbon that had been stored in forest is now released into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Therefore, forest fire management is not only an adaptation measure to climate change, but also mitigation measure. Next slide, please. Now we can monitor fire event with the eye of the universe, which are satellites. This is the fire monitoring result from NASA's website, and you can see that in September 2015, there were a lot of fire being monitored in Indonesia. Next slide, please. This is the observation result of August 2020. At that time, forest fires in the Amazon were a big news story. Next slide, please. As you may have noticed in the previous slide, the area of fire occurrence is overwhelmingly tropical. This is a big difference from the impression we get from the news. This is probably due to the magnitude of the damage to people. In any case, the fact that so many fires of this magnitude are occurring cannot help but increase the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. In particular, fire in developing countries are a trend that run counter to the promotion of Red Plus. Next slide, please. Some forest fires are spontaneous, but most of them are human-caused fire. However, it is sometimes difficult to distinguish between natural and human-caused fires, especially in developing countries. Land conversion is associated with large forest fires, and in recent years, acidification has led to uncontrolled burning in agricultural land, causing forest to disappear. Next slide, please. Drying out due to climate change. It's okay? Drying out due to climate change deplete the moisture content of forests, increasing the risk of fire. In addition of this, dryness reduces agricultural production, which increase the size and frequency of fire, which in turn contribute to the increase in forest fire. Next slide, please. According to the IPCC's special report on climate change and land, afforest sector account for 23% of net anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gas. Therefore, the IPCC has identified REDD+ as the activity with the greatest potential to reduce after emission. Next slide, please. However, illegal logging, which causes forest degradation, has been difficult to address, and how to monitor forest degradation is a key issue in the promotion of REDD+. In addition, this type of illegal logging leaves wood residues in the forest. This leads to large fires when uncontrolled fire in agricultural land reach the forests. Next slide, please. We are still experiencing the phenomena of people who lost their jobs in the city returning to rural area due to COVID-19. There is a concern that the expansion of agriculture in rural areas will lead to deforestation and increased forest fire. Next slide, please. Naturally, large-scale forest fire also affect biodiversity. We conducted a study in East Kalimantan, Indonesia, in collaboration with LIPI and ITTO on the impact of large forest fire caused by the 1998 El Nino event on biodiversity. Next slide, please. Since that time, satellite-based observation of hotspots have been conducted, and in 1980, many hotspots were observed by NOAA satellite, especially in East Kalimantan. Subsequent changes in vegetation were analyzed using time series data from the land satellite, which continues to observe the area. Next slide, please. In addition to analysis of the satellite data, we actually went into the forest to investigate what the situation was like there and created a database. This slide shows the data from a site with relatively light damage from forest fires. Next slide, please. This slide shows the data of the point where the damage was severe. Next slide, please. We set up traps to capture small animals according to the degree of damage in these forests. Next slide, please. As a result, we found that small animals which normally live in grassland had entered the heavily damaged forest area, and no small animals which lives in forest were captured here. The next slide, please. I'd like to conclude today's my talk. Forest fire are an issue that need to be addressed for climate change mitigation and also adaptation, in developing country and the developed country alike. We also need to recognize that it is not only a local scale issue, but also a global scale issue. Forest degradation, including illegal logging, need to be recognized not only from the perspective of REDD+, but also risk for the spread of forest fire. Forest degradation also has an impact on the maintenance of biodiversity. Various studies have been conducted around the world on the impact of forest fire on biodiversity, but more research is needed. So, next slide, please. I guess that's all. Today I want to talk with you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Hirata-san. Perfectly on time. And again, a very informative, different chapter on how forest fires impact on forests, biodiversity, and wildlife. And most of our countries have that same issue. I mean, we're all developing countries, and with the extreme weather conditions at this stage, it's interesting to see that not just developing countries are struggling with this, it is also developed countries. There may be different ways in which the issues can be handled or tackled, but it is absolutely true that forest degradation and deforestation, both. Deforestation may increase further due to the impacts of COVID-19, simply because the forests face more pressure from communities if alternative employment or alternative sources of revenue are not found for these people. This is the reason why, with the International Tropical Timber Organization, the mandate of implementing sustainable forest management includes all the challenges that we're actually airing and discussing at this webinar today. Right, without wasting any more time, may I now invite the next speaker, Ms. Elvira Gomez Rivero, who is the Director General from the General Directorate of Information and Forest and Wildfire Management from Peru's National Forest and Wildlife Service of Fauna and Flora, CEFO. She is actually hooking in from Peru itself, and I hope she's already online. Elvira, I hope you can hear us, and you have 7 minutes in order to present your opening remarks and the video presentation. Thank you very much. From technical support, do we have her online? Can someone please let us know if Elvira is online and if a video can be, yes, she is here now. Welcome. Welcome, Elvira.
Perú es uno de los países más biodiversos, que junto a los demás albergan el 70% de la biodiversidad de todo el planeta. Sus mares, costas, punas y selva albergan millones de especies de animales y plantas, vitales para conservar los ecosistemas, como para preservar la vida de las poblaciones. Parte de esta riqueza es que desde hace décadas, esta riqueza natural está siendo amenazada por diversos factores, principalmente causados por el ser humano. El tráfico, la sobreexplotación de recursos, la contaminación, el cambio de uso de suelo y la tala ilegal son solo algunos de ellos. Hablar de nuestros bosques es referirnos a más de 73 millones de hectáreas que se han convertido en uno de los últimos pulmones del planeta, de los que sin duda no solo dependen los peruanos y peruanas, sino toda la humanidad. A pesar de ser la principal fuente de recursos naturales y culturales y servicios ecosistémicos para el Perú, son muy afectados actualmente. Solo en 2019, la deforestación de nuestro país abarcó a más de 147.000 hectáreas de bosques, siendo los incendios forestales provocados los grandes culpables de esta catástrofe. En un solo año, el Perú puede llegar a registrar más de 800 incendios forestales, y su impacto no solo afecta en la pérdida de la biodiversidad, sino también en la economía local, que genera pobreza, aumento de las emisiones de dióxido de carbono e incluso en problemas para la salud para la población que pueden llevar a la muerte. Prevenirlos y combatirlos no es nada fácil, pues una de las causas que los provocan es que se tenga la idea de que la quema de residuos agrícolas y pastos naturales logra una supuesta regeneración del terreno para la siguiente campaña de siembra, siendo una práctica cultural que data de muchos años atrás. Esto hace que los incendios forestales sean una de las principales causas que generan el cambio climático y que colocan al Perú en uno de los 10 países más vulnerables frente a este fenómeno. Las consecuencias, muchas de ellas irreversibles, podrían afectar directamente la economía, la salud e incluso la vida misma como la conocemos, siendo las comunidades rurales y poblaciones indígenas las más vulnerables. Ante esta situación, el Servicio Nacional Forestal y de Fauna Silvestre, SERFOR, del Ministerio de Desarrollo Agrario y Riego, y la Organización Internacional de Maderas Tropicales, OIMT, de Japón, unieron esfuerzos para implementar el proyecto Prevención y Respuesta a Incendios Forestales en Bosques Tropicales y Plantaciones Forestales en Perú. Esta apuesta busca contribuir a la conservación de ecosistemas forestales y hábitats naturales amenazados en las 5 regiones del país donde se presenta la mayor cantidad de incendios forestales, siendo su principal eje de acción la prevención. Para lograrlo, se promoverá la implementación de buenas prácticas forestales con usuarios del bosque, una gestión adecuada de prevención de incendios a través de la articulación de autoridades en espacios de trabajo, fortaleciendo sus capacidades técnicas en planeamiento, manejo de sistemas de monitoreo de incendios forestales y canalización de la información. Con ello, se espera generar conciencia en la ciudadanía, mejorar las condiciones de vida de las personas que dependen directamente del uso del bosque y de los que indirectamente nos beneficiamos de él. Sin duda, el empoderamiento de los tomadores de decisiones será crucial en este proceso.
El objetivo del proyecto es contribuir a la conservación de estos ecosistemas forestales amenazados por los incendios forestales y desea reducir el problema fortaleciendo las capacidades de las autoridades regionales para tomar acciones urgentes de prevención y respuesta ante los incendios forestales. La estrategia de capacitación que se ha implementado comprende un curso integral que está destinado a fortalecer capacidades en 3 públicos objetivos: autoridades regionales, brigadistas forestales o combatientes y productores en comunidades rurales. Ya hemos iniciado la implementación de esta estrategia dirigida a autoridades regionales en estas 5 regiones, lo cual permitirá lograr una gestión integrada, logrando contribuir a la conservación de estos ecosistemas forestales. Nuestro deseo es trabajar de manera articulada con estas 5 regiones y otras entidades que tienen que ver con los incendios forestales, sumando los esfuerzos ya desarrollados a nivel regional para prevenir los incendios y mitigar su impacto. La metodología desarrollada del taller combina la entrega de conocimientos teóricos y a la vez prácticos, aplicándolos a la realidad regional. Se han desarrollado sesiones sincrónicas, en vivo, a través de la plataforma Zoom, y sesiones asincrónicas también, a través de la plataforma SERFOR Educa, en donde se encuentran los contenidos, las tareas y evaluaciones, las cuales podrán realizarlas de acuerdo a su propio ritmo y horario. A la fecha ya hemos capacitado a 357 autoridades en las 5 regiones. Vamos a continuar con este proceso en los siguientes meses, capacitando a brigadas y a productores comunitarios ya de manera presencial, lo cual es un reto muy grande. Sin embargo, estamos seguros que mediante un trabajo interinstitucional y articulado vamos a lograr que estas acciones de manera integral sumen esfuerzos a nivel de cada región.
Pero este es solo el inicio. El proyecto busca implementar planes de acción a todo nivel con potencia a ser sostenibles, escalables y replicables a zonas vulnerables, pues se trata de preservar la convivencia entre el hombre y nuestra principal fuente de recursos y vida. Todo esfuerzo vale la pena. Lograr un mejor presente y futuro para nuestros bosques y la población que vive gracias a ellos puede ser una realidad si es que somos conscientes de que el cambio comienza rompiendo paradigmas, comprometiéndonos a mejorar nuestras prácticas y sobre todo, trabajando en equipo. Proyecto SERFOR ITTO, prevención y respuesta para un bosque con vida.
Excellent. Thank you very much to Elvira and to SERFOR of Peru for sharing their experience on what is happening with the project implementation in Peru itself. And you may have noticed that the challenges that they have identified in Peru are very similar to those that are being faced by Indonesia and other tropical countries around the world, including my own home nation, Malaysia. And again, what is most important is the commitment of resources and the commitment of effort and action on the ground. That is the only way through which wild forest fires can be managed or prevented effectively. Now, lastly, may I call upon Ms. Angela Gabriela Veneros Zerpa. I hope I have pronounced your name properly. And she's a bachelor's graduate of forestry engineering at La Molina National Agrarian University of Peru. And her presentation will focus on how can young people be part of the solution to the forest fire crisis. Please go ahead, Gabriela. Welcome. We welcome you.
Thank you. The presentation is on? Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Peru. First of all, I want to say thanks to Indonesia Pavilion and ITTO for letting me be part of this event. It's such an honor for me. My name is Gabriela Veneros. I am the current IPSA commissioner for ITTO, and I am going to talk about how can young people be part of the solution to the forest fire crisis. Next, please. Okay, who is IPSA? IPSA is the International Forestry Student Association. It's one of the largest international networks of students in forestry and related sciences. We are in 5 continents, 7 regions, and also in 130 local committees. Next, please. We are a non-profit, non-political, and non-religious organization entirely run by students and also spread across over 15 countries. Next, please. So, does IPSA and other youth have a role to play in fire management? Well, we strongly believe that youth have a crucial role to play in forest fire management. Therefore, it is important to provide capacity development opportunities and make them part of discussion like this event has done. Next, please. Okay, this quote is from the ITTO guideline on fire management on tropical forests, and I would like to emphasize that knowledge must be exchanged, and young people can be a means of spreading this information to the local communities. Next, please. So how can we do that? Well, we want to encourage young people to take action. Enhance cooperation between forest authorities and education departments. Also explore ways to include non-traditional allies in the education campaign against forests, like IPSA members or other forestry students around the world. Provide education on environmental issues, forest and natural resource management, and also the impact from wildfire at primary and secondary school levels. Next, please. Okay, finally, how can we do that? Well, we propose forming different alliances between governments, scientists, and forestry students with the main objective of training young forestry engineers students and that they coordinate with public school in their regions to provide this information. Also using social networks, we can spread the voice about the importance of forest fire prevention. Next, please. And that's all. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Angela. And we do want to welcome the youth and your involvement, of course, in the important areas of work relating to forestry, because it is undeniable that the education of the young and the younger is key to the future success of anything that people of our generation do at this stage. Forestry education is extremely important, and it has to be cross-sectoral together to integrate the other challenges such as climate, nature, biodiversity, wildlife, and most importantly, mankind. As we have seen, forest fires can be nature-induced or climate-induced, but very often it is also human-induced. Okay, with that, Gabriela, that ends the string of presentations, the wonderful presentations that we have had today. Now, may I have questions? I invite, well, yes, please, madam. Gosh, that was quick. Thank you. Would someone like to share a microphone with her? Because shout out loud enough.
Thank you so much for giving me this chance. I am Sumaya from Sudan, working for Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry. I am a forester. And so interested in the forestry activities doing by rural people, because rural people were highly affected by the climate change and the adverse conditions that loss of biodiversity and cutting of wood for fuel and so on. So education and awareness raising between local communities and up to decision makers is very important. I would like to share with you one of our lessons learned from Sudan, that we engage the pupils in the schools in tree planting. We have what is called the tree for every student. That the students should have we distribute trees for pupils, and every pupil should take care of the tree and then be awarded after that within the last examination. Thank you so much.
Fantastic, madam. Thank you very much. I mean, it is something that I think the international community would be more than willing to support. And it would be great if more and more countries actually took active measures, such as what you have just mentioned now. Now, may I invite another question from the audience? Could you please keep it brief? And do say which speaker you're directing it to, if you have any. Yes, Pak Sigit, all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Moderator. I'm Sigit Pramono from Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And thank you for the comprehensive presentation of the speakers. Yes, I learned a lot that, of course, forest and land via has been kind of very vital element in our effort to reduce the carbon emission. But we know that this is something is very unpredictable to be happen on the ground. Maybe how we control that people or anyone would not initiate kind of forest fire at any place in our country, for example. But then we can avoid, if this is something to be controlled, to be what we call it, to be controlled by the government for of course, that we need to make sure that the approaches would support our goal to reducing the emission. Then my question for all the panelists is that, how would be the best approach with regard to the consolidation of the efforts at national or subnational level, or even on district level and at the VIT level? And then secondly, how with regard to the effort to what we call it law enforcement, or if we have it incentive or anything that maybe will make people to be more aware that they have to support for controlling the forest and land fire. That's maybe from myself. Thank you very much, Moderator.
Thank you very much for both your questions, Pak Sigit. Can I look for a volunteer from the speakers who would like to tackle this? But very quickly, though, because we have 5 minutes before we need to close the session. So, what? Yeah?
I think for the law enforcement, I will let Pak Bambang will explain. But with regard to the, as you mentioned about vital elements, yeah, I think the best approach in national and into the site in the field, I think the involving the community, I think is the one approach to it's very I mean powerful, I think, so far, to involving community. And with regard to incentive, actually the Red Plus originally is to answer that one. When the people is not allowed to burn, when they are clearing the forest without burning will be very expensive. So that's why I need incentive from Red Plus. This is the original one, but I think I think the mechanism to do that is not easy. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaiful. Would anyone else like to have a jab at it if your answer is slightly different from what Dr. Shaiful?
Yes,
please.
I was focusing on law enforcement. I work more than I work for more than 20 years, and then I spent more than 600 cases from the small fires until the biggest one. So this I would like to let everybody know, especially for the international community, that we never let the fire occurs directly or indirectly, because it's very bad and it is cause environmental destructions. So we would like, through the law enforcement, everybody should learn that please don't try to fight the regulation, because you will be go to jail and you should pay environmental destruction. Like I said before, just 3 days ago we got good news. One company, they burned 580 hectares. Then they should pay what used in money, Indonesian money, is about more than 200 billion because the environmental destruction they made. This is a public knowns that. Be careful, because if we miss something, then the problem will occur for you. And also the small one, we don't care, because everything starts from small and bigger. Sometimes they cheated. For instance, like the last, they asked the small or the people starting 1 hectare, let the pay burn 2 hectares, finally 100 hectares. So they claim that, oh, this is an accident, it's bullshit. We can detect from satellite, and finally we can bring it to the court. So now Indonesian government using the satellite to make sure that they are behind of the fire. This is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Please, Hirata-san.
1 minute.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah, concerning incentives, of course, Red Plus is one measure, but of course it's quite difficult. So, last speaker talked, education also important. Of course, we cannot stop the forest fire from only education, but we can reduce the forest fire from education. That's my comment.
Thank you very much, Hirata-san. All your answers actually complement each other in answering the questions that were put forward by Pak Sigit. I think we may have, we have 1 minute. I don't think anyone would be able to ask another last question in 1 minute. So I think I will now thank our distinguished panel of speakers, including the 2 ladies who participated online. And I also thank the participants who are here, who have enriched this whole session. Lastly, beribu terima kasih kepada Kerajaan Indonesia dan juga kepada Kementerian Dr. Shaiful for being willing to host this event on behalf of ITTO for Indonesia and Peru. With that, the event is now closed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. And now I think it's time for a picture. So if everyone can gather in the center of the stage. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of Indonesia Pavilion for today. And tomorrow we are going to start our event at 10:40. So yeah, tomorrow is our last event, so hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye.
Nanti bisa sharing fotonya ya.
So how if I